Hello, welcome to pro tip number 84, where today we'll be going over derived fields. Now, if you're not yet familiar with derived fields, it's not a complete surprise. It's something that we've only recently added to Lansweeper, and it's mainly there to allow you to do much more customizable dashboards. And we'll get into exactly how you can use the derived fields to create kind of dashboards or reports to basically cover whatever you'd like. Now, to start off, quickly, brief overview of what derived fields actually are. Derived fields are, you could see them as a custom field, but they only exist in kind of the analytics parts of Lansweeper. That means that you can have them in dashboards, you can have them in views, but they are not fixed data points attached to an asset. They only show up in a dashboard, in a custom view, and then they are attached to that asset, obviously. Now, the way that it works is as basically you create a derived field, you provide an expression, and that can be it's basically a sort of query, and that does the calculation, the manipulation, whatever you want it to do, basically, and then provides, whatever the output of that is in that derived field, that then can be shown in a report or like a table in a dashboard, or in a widget somewhere in a dashboard. It can be shown in a custom view as well. So there's all the analytics parts basically of Lansweeper. You'll be able to use that in. That means that, and it's also why I named kind of the pro tips. You could see it as an upgraded case statement for the ones that are more familiar with SQL. Where you can use a case statement, you can use an if condition. There's basically a lot more functions that you can use. I think there was something like, I saw in the documentation like 101 different things that you could use, whether they're kind of like arithmetic or string concatenation, I should say. Kind of comparisons, whatever you kind of want to do, you can do with the derived fields. Now, the main kind of limiting factor of this, or something just to understand, and where we draw kind of a line between the different functionalities we have in the product, is derived fields are like strictly a kind of per row data point. So it doesn't go, there's no aggregations across assets. There's no joins. If you're familiar with the kind of SQL, you cannot reference another derived field in a second derived field. So there are some limitations there. If you need if you need more than what derived fields allows you to do, that's where then you jump into Flow Builder and, go more custom, let's say. But derived fields is something that should work for the vast majority of things where you need kind of a additional data point based off of other data that you already have in Lansweeper. Now, to get more concrete, we'll dive into that. I have 3 concrete examples that I'll show you and that you can use. Those are also available in the blog. So if you want kind of the expressions that are used to create the examples that I'll be showing, head over to the blog. They'll be there. You can copy paste them and use them or adjust them to your needs. So first, let's head into the product, show you where can you find derived fields. Derived fields will be sitting, you can create it in a few different areas, but mainly you can go to assets, fields, and when you open that, you'll get put into custom fields, which you're most likely familiar with, but then you have a new tab called derived fields, and this is where your derived fields will be and where you can manage them. If you want to create a new one, obviously there's a create box here. All you need to do is enter a name. You can add a description, then this is the expression. And you can see here all the different categories of functions that we have that you can use, and then the entire list of fields. For the moment, this is only limited to assets at the time of recording, but we are adding other data collections soon to that as well. So that, for example, you can also include software in there. The other way that you can do it is if you're already editing a dashboard, then you'll see at the top right here, create derived field. So as you're creating a dashboard and you notice that you might need a derived field because, for example, you want to add something where instead of just it's saying like the operating system and domain role, you might want a column that says, well, is this a workstation or a server? That is not a fixed data point that exists in Lansweeper, but it is one that you can quite easily kind of calculate, let's say, using the other data points. You can use the OS name and take a look there and whether it includes server or not. That's one way of doing it. You can look at the domain role to see like if it's standalone workstation or member workstation, then it's a workstation, otherwise it's a server. So there's a couple different ways that you can basically calculate whether it's a workstation or a server. And there's plenty of other things like that we can do. I believe down here, we have one where we have the created at date, but let's say that theoretically, if your assets are scanned immediately when they are used, your created at date will basically be the date that they become or they are taken into use. And let's say 3, 6, 5, how many ever years later, the life cycle of that asset has basically completed, and it's time to decommission it. Now we've taken, in this case, the decommission date is not something that actually exists in Lansweeper, but it is something that you can create with derived fields now simply by taking the created at date, you add a number of years to it, and that then becomes your decommission date, or however you want to formulate it. That's an example of kind of creating a date. And then the last one is not shown here, but let me close it and go over to show you how it works in views. In views, the last one is, let's say you have a date already in Lansweeper. We have many end-of-life dates. And you want to know, instead of having to look at the date, remember or take a look at what the current date is, then kind of do the math in your head of like, how close are we to that date and should I pay attention to it or not? An easier way of doing it is just saying like, how many days are remaining? So if we have a date, we can easily transform that into just an extra data point that says how many days are now remaining until that end of life date. Now we've done that already. What I can do then is add some fields here, the OS end of life. That's one that we'll need. And then we need, it was actually already there, OS end of life days left. And then we can see for the assets here where there is an OS end of life date, you can see how many days are remaining. So there's one here that is very close. This specific asset on 47 days left. There's a bunch that are overdue, so they've gone minus. These ones are basically 1,000 days already overdue. I don't know what operating system they are running, but that way, and it also gives you an easier way. I mean, you could also sort on dates, but that also gives you an easy way to just sort on, what is the most critical. We can see here we have a couple that are almost 3,000 days overdue, so they really should be updated or taken a look at least. So those are the kind of the 3 examples that I'll go through. Again, the expressions you can find in the blog. Now, when it comes to creating these, and of course, you might think, here we go, I need to learn a new kind of query language again. It is not the most difficult one. In many cases, it is similar to SQL, the expression language that is used here. However, if you do want some help on this, there is, on the one hand, there's documentation. So in our knowledge base, we have a whole category focused on derived fields where you can read some basic things on them, but also you can see we have a knowledge base on the expression language reference or the function references. So you can take a look and see exactly how you would need to create a expression. Now, again, there's also examples here, as you can see. So there are some examples here ready to use that you can already use. If you have access to a AI tool in your workplace, or you have one personally, it's even easier because every single one of these knowledge base articles, if you click here on the settings, can be viewed as Markdown. So you can view it as Markdown. This means that you can then save the actual page, cast save, save page as, and then it will save it as, or it doesn't actually pick up on the screen, but anyway, you can save it as a Markdown file, which then you can throw into your AI tool. You can create skills, agents, whatever your product calls it, about it. And that's how I've created most of my expressions, simply throwing this all into like a Claude skill. So it knows exactly how the expression language works. And I'm just asking it, hey, I want to create, I have this field, I have that field. I want to create a derived field that does X, Y, Z. And then it usually gives me something back that is usable and that I can, if I want to tweak it, I can tweak it more. But it's a very easy way to get a head start on this stuff. So let's take a quick look at some of these derived fields. So the data type that you can see here, one of the things that is, this is done automatically. So depending on what the output of your derived field will be, it will automatically choose the correct data type. So if it's a date, then it will become a date data type. So here, as you can see, it's relatively simple, just a case statement where it says if the type is this, then add, X number of years, in this case 3, to the created at for, and that's on Windows. For Linux, we're doing 5. For Mac, we're doing 3. For Switch, we're doing 6. And you can keep going on depending on what asset types you like to have this for. Now, for the end of life, it's even shorter. It's literally just a date difference on the day from the current date or between the current date and the OS end of life. And you can replace this and the OS end of life with whatever. If you want it to be hardware end of life, if you want it to be warranty, you can use that. And then we have 2 special ones, and these, in my opinion, are some of the most useful ones that I've found. And it does have to do with dashboards. So I'll go back to my dashboard where I was just at. No, I'm in custom views, derived field test. Now, some of you might have seen this because I have used this in dashboards that are related to workflows. Specifically the Intune coverage one and the Tenable coverage one, to show how good your coverage of Tenable or Intune is within your environment and how close that is to all of your assets or all of your workstations or whatever you want to target it at. So by using 2 derived fields, you can actually create a dynamic target. This can be done with as far as I know, any of the gauge widgets. So we've got here widgets, gauges, any of these gauge widgets. I'm not sure about the bullet chart one, but all of these like circular, conditional, and speedometer ones, you can create basically a dynamic target, which means that you need 2 derived fields. One is the actual end or the total pool of assets that you want to measure against, and then the second one is your current status. So in this example, what I've done is I've created 2 data points, and here the goal was to see how many out of our Windows desktop devices or assets have an up-to-date Windows Defender. And for that, I need 2 fields. I need to know the total number of Windows workstations, which is this number right here. So this is 965, and then the second number I need is the total number. Well, the same thing with the total number of Windows workstations, but where the antivirus is up to date, or like the Windows Defender is up to date. And by combining these 2 numbers, I can then get a percentage in this circular gauge widget that tells me that 87% of my Windows desktop devices have an up-to-date antivirus. Now to show you, back to the derived field. So I have basically a Windows desktop target or Windows workstation, whatever you like to call it. And then a Windows desktop antivirus up, and that is my current status. If I go into edit of these, you can see here the query that I've used. I had to use this has any function because the The domain role is sort of the data in the domain role is stored as an array, and then it said like, oh, you have to use this has any. Again, that's something that I did mainly using the help of AI. It pointed that out to me. I think at first it did something wrong. It tried a different method, and then it gave this expression gave me an error code. I just threw that error code into the chat and just said it's giving me this error, and then it gave me this alternative. So it was relatively easy to get this. And then, so that's all basically a data point for giving you or allowing you to get a number of all of the Windows desktop or Windows workstations in your environment. And then here we have the same thing, but then we added the antivirus product up to date has to have a value. So it's not empty. And it has to be true on top of that. Because apparently what it said at least is if it's empty, it might count it as being true. It's something like a fallback logic or something like that it does. Anyway, this one, it works. So this gives us all the workstations that have an up-to-date antivirus product, which means Windows Defender in our case, really. So by using both of those, and I'll go here into seeing that here the measure is the Windows Desktop with up-to-date antivirus one, and then the target is the Windows Desktop target, which means all Windows Desktop / workstations. And combining that gives us the percentage. I did here switch it to the percentage of target, and I added the conditional color. So it gives me kind of in a blink of an eye, if I know if it's green, it would be 100%. I know it's good to go. If it's anything but green, I know how bad it is simply by seeing, and it catches my eye because it has like a different color. So I can quickly see how bad the problem is. As I mentioned, and I'll show it here in the other dashboards, I've used this in other scenarios as well. Intune, for example, I hope that this is the right one. Yes, Intune, for example, not my entire estate has to be Intune enrolled, but I only have a few test devices. But again, here I can see what is my Intune enrolled percentage, only 0.5% because I only have a few test devices. I have a similar thing for Tenable coverage, where I can see how many of my assets have a Tenable agent installed on them, only 6%, or how many, not agents, sorry, how many have are in Tenable itself, actually, because this is connecting to Tenable. And I know that Tenable only manages 6% of my assets. So again, it can be used in various situations to see kind of what your coverage is, how well you are performing towards what you want to be performing like. And I think this is definitely by far the most useful one out of the three. And then what else I did here, or a decommission date that I had as well, but I covered that basically. So I think that's pretty much it for this pro tip. So again, if you want the expressions that I've used here, they're in the blog. You can adjust them. I'd highly recommend using the knowledge base articles if you have an AI tool with it and trying out how you can start adding your own kind of dynamic targets. I think this is some of the most interesting stuff. Adding those to your dashboards that you've been trying to create or that you've created already, so that you can more easily see how well you are doing, if there are any issues in your environment, and whether you need to kind of investigate further on that. And on top of that, if you want to, you can use the other ones as well for basically just more and easier visibility on where the problems might be and where to prioritize. Because that's what it comes down to, is creating these extra data points to make it easier for you to find the right assets that might need work, that are at risk, that need looking at for some reason or another, so that you don't get blindsided, and by the end of the day that you have less tickets coming in or less surprises in your day-to-day work because you've already taken care of things, and it's not coming out of some external report or something saying that you've done a bad job because half of your environment is out of date or something along those lines. Anyway, that's enough from me. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.